see if I can do this and not get too lost in my thoughts, because there's a lot to go on here tonight. We are going to have a class about BIRD wattmeters. Oh, I said it. And I can already hear the little gremlins of the internet starting to drool. Oh, BBI, please give us something to nitpick you to death with. Guess what? We're not going to have that kind of class. I'm not speaking as the absolute authority. I'm not speaking as an absolute expert. I'm just going to talk about my observations and what general things are. We're going to shoot this from the standpoint of just trying to orientate people to what the different parts of a BIRD meter are and how they go about being used and how you can hook them up, and just trying to orientate people to get them so they have knowledge to go from this to this setup, or something like what I build, which is like this. This is for a customer named Clay. This is going off to Hawaii. This is truly one of the most beautiful BIRD setups I've ever built on the inside. It's backlit with green LED on the forward and reflect meter movements. It's got an internal voltmeter, which eventually will plug into the back of the matching amplifier that goes with this thing. So he has a true voltage reference on the inside of the box, not something at a terminal connection outside, but actually what the voltage is on the inside of the box. Look at that. Freaking sick. We're going to go from this to this. This has a trap system in it that is directional, and it reads this way. As in, you put the RF in, antenna, pardon me, it reads this way. The RF in this way on transmit side, and this is your antenna. There's a bar that passes through the back, and you got little diodes that have the pickups in it, and it reads the RF that's flowing in this direction on this scale. This would be forward power. This is your SWR meter. It is a direct representation of reflected power. Otherwise, the signal that is returning from the antenna. This meter reads this direction, this meter reads this direction. Okay? These two meters have a lot of the same properties. Now, people don't really like meters like this because you can get inside and you can make them read anything you want. They're called happy watts, they're called fake watts, they're called whatever, dozy watts. The fact is, in peak mode, these are generally within 10 to 15% of what these read. And because there's so many different kinds of slugs, it's an industry accepted standard to have somewhere in a roughly 4 to like 8-10% tolerance and difference in between meters. They're really not that bad, as I'm going to go on to demonstrate. But that's just a general rule of thumb. Remember, all watt meters, the guy that gets down on it goes, man, if I can get it to do one more watt, if I can get it to do one more watt, I'm going to get over that guy down the street. And they'll call my name in DX land, not his. No. Look, these are general measuring devices to give us a rough idea of what's taking place. We want to measure real output power, get a spectrum analyzer, get an oscilloscope, and we can talk about it. These are a general metering system to give us a general idea. For the wattmonger guys, hey, spend more time looking at the BIRD meter. Have fun with that. Anywho, you can make this meter work the same as you can this meter. Forward, reflect power. If you want this meter to read and reflect, hook your connections up backwards. Put the antenna here, put the radio here, put this in its lowest scale setting, and it'll show you how much power you have coming back from your antenna. It reads both directions. And that same principle crosses over to here. Forward on a BIRD meter is only a relative term. It's whichever direction the arrow is pointed. Inside this slug, this little piece of clear plastic, or opaque plastic, is a pickup. See, there's a pickup on both sides, an output terminal. There's a pickup point in here. It's a coil and a diode and a transverse field adjustment. It works in a directional plane. it's reading the RF that's moving this way, or you turn the slug around and now it's reading in reverse. That is, if your feed point from your radio is going from right to left or left to right. Pretty straightforward. Similarities between the two, or in counting, the cases are completely different. The principles that they work on are the same. Let's get our basic orientation down. You've got the back of a meter, the front face of a meter. You've got a line section, which all the RF passes through. You've got a blank, which takes up, there we go, which this is where you insert your slug. And down inside here, you'll see there's a little tab pickup, but there's not one on this side. Remember when I was showing you this slug, it's got two output ports. They read exactly the same. There's only one pickup point. So the meter slug can be turned in its orientation to forward or reflect. Food for thought. This line section comes directly out of, or coupler, however you want to look at it, comes directly out of a BIRD 43 unit. This is a BIRD 43 unit. That's a BIRD 43 unit. That's a BIRD 43 unit. This unit has BIRD 43 orientated parts in it. This is your output port. Between your output port and the back of the meter movement is a little coax adapter, a piece of 58 coax. Shield goes to one post, positive goes to the other. The energy that this coil picks up passing by it generates a small electrical current which drives the needle forward. Okay. Single line section. Now this is a dual line section. Now this is a coaxial dynamics line section. It's a little bit more beefy than the BIRD one. I prefer coaxial dynamics just from the simple set of orientation in your brain. You can have one port for forward and reverse, or reverse and forward, and your slugs that you put in there are pretty easy for you to figure out. Usually you're going to have a low scale on your reflect, like a 50 or 100, and your output side you're going to have something like a couple thousand. Helps you keep it square in your head, at least for me. They also make a dual line section where this port is actually orientated around here on this side. They work equally as well. Just me, I'm a little bit more into the coaxial dynamics side of things. Since the new BIRD slugs, which this is brand new, still sealed in the plastic directly from BIRD, is all plastic. All of this is plastic. That brass, nope, that's plated plastic. So if you look down in here, you can see that those are opaque, and you can see the coil pickup that's in there. Even the head that you grab onto, plastic. Coaxial dynamics, brass, metal. I like coaxial dynamics myself. It's just me. On this end of the pickup, the meters, in my opinion, are ugly as shit, but they work the same. The two parts are interchangeable. They have roughly the same production tolerances. It is what it is. Each one of the line sections has a changeable freaking flange mount. You can change that out to be anything you want. 7/8, LC, all kinds of stuff. Roughly only good up to 10,000 watts RMS average. Same thing with this. Okay, let's see here. Now, this all got started tonight because I bought yet another one of these. I've got like 10 of them now. And I'm going to go and redesign my bench, as in like I'm going to add this in another place and put this one into play in another place. I'm going to change this around a little bit. That's all to come in the future. We'll see what happens. This is your BIRD 43 case. It's just a nice soft case with a nice velvet lining. You put your meter in, it protects it, because let's face it, if you're to go out and buy one of these completely brand new with all new parts in it, $700 meter, each one of these slugs is roughly about $100. You get 6 slugs in there, you got $1,200 worth of shit. You're going to put it inside of a nice box to carry it back and forth and not let it bounce around inside your cabin. Carrying case. Now, everybody's seen me come down in here and zoom in here, and what I'm doing is I'm demonstrating the slug value that's in the hole. Today we're going to work with a 100 watt slug. 100 watt slug, 100 watt slug. BIRD slug, coaxial dynamics. And that is a coaxial dynamics pickup. The variations that take place with this meter system is just amazing. You can put this meter pickup in here, and it drives this BNC connector. They make them with SO239 and coarse Denon LNs and LC on the output sides. This is really handy if you want to do a direct pickup for, let's say, my spectrum analyzer, which is what happens to be plugged into here. The RF that passes directly in front of this thing, inside of this sealed cavity of a line section, generates a little bit of a signal on the coil, and that gets transversed up here to the scope, so I have a sealed system that I'm looking at the RF at. Cool, huh? All right. Now we're going to talk about peak and average power. BIRD meters are designed for CW or average reading. BIRD came out with a peak kit. BIRD. This is where it gets a little gray, folks. This is what the BIRD peak kit looks like out of the cabinet. Bolts on the back of the meters, just like this. Presents itself on the outside like this. It uses two 9-volt batteries, and it loves to eat them. Eats them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Let me show you how to make this thing work. Turn it on, audio, peak, 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 peak. Cool, shut it off. If you leave this on, it'll be dead within a day. Okay? Another gentleman out of Florida at B&M Distributors, and you can find these on eBay. Make sure you buy it from the guy in Florida. There's a couple people that have copied this and they're selling them all over eBay. See, look at this. This is actual real deal, real McCoy. There's a lot of literature about this peak kit and how valid it is in its operation with this. And it's all over the interweb. There's been a trillion hams with lots and lots of different engineering degrees say that this thing is kick-ass. I'm not here to argue the merits of the difference between the two peak kits. I will tell you this. This one requires a 9-volt battery. And you can leave it on for like 4 or 5 days and the battery still not be dead. And the other up advantage of this kit is it's got a multiplier unit. Average, PEP, and then over here you got 1x, 2x, and 5x. And you can set these scales up to read any which way you want. But when you see one of these, you can just generally assume that it's 1x in the middle, 2x, 5x. What's the advantages of that, you ask, Mr. BBI? I could take this 100-watt slug and make it read 200 watts, or 500 watts, or its face value of 100 watts, in average or in peak, which we've all seen me do 100 times. Let's go ahead and kick this on. We're going to kick this on, 100-watt slug. We're going to use the Striker 955. We're going to swing roughly 80-some watts through this thing in peak. We're going to pick it up over here in peak, and we're going to look at it in 1x. Now, the reason I got this one sitting out here, let's hop back to this peak kit system, is the interface for the two commonly accepted BIRD meter movements are like this, stock. Okay? Shut this off since I'm not actually using it. That's your interface. Peak. 1x in the middle, 2x is up, 5x is down. At least everything around this joint, that's the way it's set up. It's all up to the guy that's actually using it, the end user, how he sets it up. That's the interface. Most of the guys you'll see, like my good buddy Brian Smith, his peak switch is up here on the front with an LED indicator on the front so you can see what's going on. And his multipliers and stuff are over here. That is all up to the end user. These things unbolt, the switches come off. You can customize it for yourself. It's the beauty. Like I said, I'm not going to argue the validation of that. I'm just not. It's a great piece of equipment. I have it in everything I've got, except for this one. And I have this one out so I can show it to people. I just don't feel like putting, $11, $12 worth of batteries in this every other week. It's not worth it to me. What with a newer, better model. Anywho. All right, peak back on. I'll move this 43 out of the way. Both the slugs are orientated the same way. 3-watt dead key. 3-watt dead key. Hello, BBI. Hello, BBI. They're within 1 watt of each other, guys. Peak kit versus peak kit. This kit has an adjustment. It's this little red adjustment here. As they explain to you in the instructions, that's how you set up your hang time. Otherwise, how fast the needle will move through its movement. Hello, audio. Look at how lazy Susan that is, right? Hello, hello, hello. Meter to the right's already given me my meter reading. I'm still waiting for the one on the left to decide what it's going to do. Hello. They're both giving you the same data. The neat bit is with this one, I can go over here and go boom. And now it's reading like a 200 watt slug. Hello. See how that comes up to 50? That's 100 watts, right? So now if we change the face value up, a multiplier, and turn it to 50, or turn it up to 200, so it'd read up to only 50 on the scale, correct? And now I can flick the switch and make it read like a 500 watt slug. I haven't had to change a slug yet, but I've been able to jump up in scale by 3-fold. That's the advantage. Hello. Hello. Comes right up to about the 20. Needless to say, pretty damn accurate. It's within a watt or two on all linear scales of movement. Pretty straightforward. This is a neat little bit of technology. Once again, PEP. Average, of course, the multiplier unit, 1, 2, and 5. Same technology. Shut this off, don't want to deplete my batteries. Same technology. This peak kit here saves me the expense of buying a 100 watt, a 200 watt, and a 500 watt slug, or a 5 watt, 10 watt, and 25 watt slug, or a 1,000 watt, 2,000 watt, and 5,000 watt slug. And at about $100 a pop for new ones. It's up to you how technical you want to get and how much money you want to spend. A really good, decent BIRD setup is going to run you about $300 for the meter on average. Not saying you can't find them for less or more out there, boys and girls, because we all know you can. And then how much money you want to spend on slugs. Average about $100 a slug, more or less depending on the frequency and the band that you wanted to use, how you're going to go about employing it, so on and so on and so on. Just a general reference. This is how birds work. This is what they look like. These are the parts and pieces. This right here, for me to build this for you with all 100% new parts, exactly what's in this is everything in here is new, nothing is old. All the different ferrets and chokes on it to make it all read in a very, very high watt environment, like up to 10,000 watts RMS, about $1,200. Anywhere from $300 to $700 a unit here for a single meter movement, and it only reads forward. Now if I wanted to read reflect, turn the slug in reverse. Or you get a dual coupler, dual line section, and have a fixed meter that's always reading in reverse. I appreciate you watching. I understand this is 20 minutes out of your life, but I figured it'd be helpful for everybody out there that's trying to learn about bird movements, meters, line sections, couplers, pickups, peak kits. It's a general reference, boys and girls. Don't nitpick it to death. I'm sure I'll see it up on some Facebook/mall droppers hate page someplace where they're going to talk shit. It is what it is. Behold the beauty of the internet. Hopefully I help somebody out there somehow understanding how they want to set up their meter system in the future. My name is BBI. Without a shadow of a doubt, I am the biggest mud duck in Idaho. Come check us out, www.bbiamps.com. If you ever have any questions or anything I can help you out with, please feel free to give me a call. Bump, bump. See ya.